The child soldier story, I never wanted to tell. That guilt comes back when I remember all those stories. Um, I met my friend Jacob by the mango tree behind the schoolhouse, and we took turns hoisting each other up to try and reach the lowest fruit. Reading through this for me was it was difficult because closely resembles to my own story. I was 5 years old when I was abducted as a child soldier, and um, I ran in the field, and Kevin was waiting for me, and he passed me the ball. And as I shot it into the net, I remember scoring one of the best goals I'd ever scored. So I ran around the field screaming, "Goal!" So, and he kept laughing at me. And that's when I saw sort of these army trucks that were parked near the soccer field. We heard gunshots going on in the background. And as we were trying to scramble to run away, we're looking at all the kids on the ground, like crying in tears, and they all have blood in front of them. And at 5 years old, you're terrified, and I remember feeling so scared. So that's when I started to cry. A lot of people think that somehow child soldiers make a choice to be where they are. I mean, which some parts, it's not. Like, some children do choose to go and fight, but majority of these kids are forced to go into these experiences, and it's not a choice they make. They make a choice for them. These kids are never gonna be children again. I lost my childhood at 5 years old. Like I was 5, I could never, when I went back home miraculously, which I was thankful for, I could never play with toys. Because for me, I saw other kids and I thought the kids were going to hurt me because that's what I was used to, right? I lost my childhood at that, and they're children, and they've lost that. And as a way of initiating us into their army, they grabbed my hand, my left arm, and they grabbed a knife, and they started slashing my wrist. And as he was bleeding, they took a substance called brown, called which is a mixture of cocaine and gunpowder, and they rubbed it into the wound. And they blindfolded me, and they kept telling me to put my hands out. And as I did, they dropped a AK-47 in my hand, and they started yelling at me to shoot, and they kept yelling louder right next to me to shoot. So I pulled the trigger, and as my hands shook, I just dropped the gun on the ground again. So they took off the blindfold. As I looked at Kevin, I saw him and he was lying in blood. But I shook him, trying to wake him up, trying to ask him, stand up, the sound is done. And as he looked at me, is when his tear fell down and his eyes closed. And that is a face that I can never take out because I see it to this day. Like every morning, like every night, I wake up. It's the hardest thing because I don't dream. I only have nightmares. I rarely dream. I mean, as a soldier being put in a situation, I can just imagine, like, okay, here I am with a gun and I have to shoot a kid, right? And if that kid, you go through the experiences, if you had a kid, that kid looks like your child, right? So that I can feel the guilt that would come from that moment. As what would you do? What would you do when the kid has a gun pointed to you and you have a gun? Like, what do you can't shoot the kid, but if you don't shoot them, they shoot you. What do you do, right? And if you shot the kid, then I mean, that stuff would haunt you for the rest of your life.